I think first and foremost, we want to focus on an action-oriented agenda, an action-oriented strategy. When we were doing the interview and we were talking about the project, I slipped a little bit and called it a study. And Pat very gently corrected me that this is not a study, this is not a project or a research exercise to sit on a shelf, but that this is a critical project. There's a reason why we have a mix of local, regional, and state participation in this project, and so we recognize the importance of this overall initiative. Secondly, recognize or focus on industry cluster development strategy, and from my perspective, what that means is that we're constantly looking for the industry-based economic opportunities that either tie directly to the computing center or as part of this evaluation of the local and regional economies can tie to an innovation-based strategy where the computing center may be an indicator of some of the opportunities that could come to the region. The third is to have some focus on the region. We recognize that economies and your workforce are not limited to neat little municipal jurisdictional boundaries. And we also want to emphasize not just the industries that we think have chances for success, but what are some of the supporting strategies and investments that might be needed to achieve success. As Kathy and Tim have noted, there's a lot going on in the city and the region. I started working in this area about 3 years ago on the rail corridor project, and what's happening now compared to what was happening 3 years ago is dramatic. Finally, developing a consistent and compelling communications and marketing plan. This work will be successful not just because we do a good job and we all know what we're doing, but because we can communicate it to prospective businesses, to other regions, with the universities. So that's another important part. I wanted to lay out some guiding principles or foundations for this work. Market-based vision for economic development. Again, really tying everything to what those market opportunities are. Looking at both near-term and long-term strategies. So just today at lunch and talking with Kathy and some folks from the Innovation Institute, we're talking about, well, if there are some things over the course of this engagement that are activities that should be started now, well, let's try to identify those and start them. But at the same time, we know that we're in this for the long haul. This isn't just here are some jobs from constructing a building. This is something for the long-term success of the city and the region. Linking to the Urban Renewal Plan, that's a significant initiative most of you are probably familiar with. So there definitely could be some overlap. We want to do our best to work collaboratively, understand what they're doing. They have community outreach. We're going to need to do some community outreach, so we will work closely with them. And then the last item there is identifying parties responsible for implementation. And I think Pat and Tim, perhaps you touched on this, is the need to have a committed group of local and regional stakeholders that can help implement the strategies that come out of this work. It really will take a team effort, so that's a key element. The anticipated schedule is a 9-month schedule. I thought I would walk through briefly what the overarching tasks are. The first one is prioritization and preparatory activities, which is a lot of wording to say. Some of what we're doing right now, getting organized, collecting information and reports and data, getting our team members fully on board, having a meeting like this and a chance for some preliminary input. The second one is an analysis of baseline conditions and opportunities, and that's where we really want to make sure that we have a full understanding of the assets, both on the foundational or infrastructure side and also on the economic and industry side, so that we can do an honest SWOT assessment to build towards strategies. The third and fourth tasks are fairly closely related in my viewpoint, so you can see a somewhat similar schedule where on the energy side, we're really focused on economic development opportunities that can tie to the hydropower, the lower cost energy in Holyoke. Task 4 is the broader set of industry opportunities that we're going to assess. Task 5 is we're calling the innovation ecosystem. You'll sometimes hear me use the phrase foundation for economic development, whether it's the workforce, business incubation, access to capital, you know, site-specific issues. There's a number of items in there to address. Public input, task 6, you'll see we have throughout. James will be talking more about that. And then task 7, reporting and dissemination of this work. Along the bottom, I'll highlight, there have roughly been a meeting per month of this group. We envision that that will continue. What we have proposed and what agreed to with the Innovation Institute is that we would have 4 what I'm calling in-depth task force working sessions. So today is actually not one of those, though it may feel that way at the moment. The idea is that there will be 4 sessions where we really lead and facilitate the meeting, and we'll have specific topics and goals and objectives to get out of those meetings. And so next month, when we'll talk about dates for the next task force meeting, we're thinking about that being the first of those in-depth sessions. The public workshop, that's kind of a placeholder. James will talk more about some of the public forums that we have in mind. I'm going to try to run through this sort of quickly so that we can get to the public input side of things, but I did want to just highlight some of the key aspects of these tasks. There's a lot in task 2 in terms of the baseline conditions, from the infrastructure to socioeconomic analysis, global context and site location trends. That speaks to, when thinking about some of the industry opportunities, what are some of the site location specifics that need to be met here in Holyoke and in the region to be successful. There's a lot of work that has been done. This region, as you probably know, has been studied quite extensively, a lot of that from the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, so we want to build on that work as much as possible. An important item there is an assessment or lessons learned from comparable examples. What we're focusing on are other innovation districts and computing centers, as well as catalyst projects. And catalyst projects aren't always just a computing center, but that's really what we have here. So we want to learn from some other areas, both nationally and internationally. And with the result being the SWOT assessment, and that will be one of the working sessions that I described. This is just a long list of all these reports that we've obtained. There's actually 3 pages of them. I asked my staff to collect as much as we could and come up with a list of what we didn't have access to. And actually, the only things we didn't have access to yet, we can get from our own Dukakis Center teammates. So I think that's a testament to how well the region is documenting its existing work. And usually I'd be, hey, we need these 6, 7 different documents. So we have a lot to start from. The energy strategy development task, I mentioned it's morphed a little bit to really focus on the economic development opportunities. We're not doing a detailed technical energy assessment as a complement to this project. We do need to understand the energy capacity and strengths of the region and some of the plans for potential future expansion. But that will be done not at a detailed engineering level, more as a conceptual and how does that tie in with industry opportunities basis. And those opportunities could be from some research demonstration locations, manufacturing, which is a big energy user, or in some cases a renewable energy producer. So we want to explore that. Data centers and other IT type. Those are just a few quick examples that we're going to explore in more depth, as well as understanding some of the support strategies in this area. Task 4, this is the industry cluster strategy task. which really tries to answer which industries, where might they be located, what's the size of the opportunity, and what are the supporting investments and strategies needed to make those successful. So we want to look at both existing and emerging industries that are already here in Holyoke or the Pioneer Valley area. Business attraction, what are some of the industries or firms that could locate here? And in addition to the computing center, are there other anchor tenants as part of this innovation strategy? And clearly, the Cisco Smart and Connected community is one example of a big IT-based firm that is making some early commitments and activity here in the region. Right, and then a clear understanding of some of the key site location factors and challenges to overcome, and trying to align the assets of the region with these industries. Now this is probably impossible for most of you to read, so I'll just describe it at a high level. As part of this industry assessment, I mean, that can sound vague and it can sound unwieldy. What we want to do is have some discipline to how we go about that process. The top level is the strategic industry cluster identification. So that's how do we identify some of the industries with potential, and there's a number of sources, whether it's existing strengths, competitive assets, development experts, the university consortium, and that will help us focus in on a set of industries to explore in greater detail. We then want to understand their competitive factors for success, whether it's the workforce skill requirements, national and global trends, and how that relates to opportunities here, supply chain opportunities in terms of, you know, what other businesses might link well with a computing center or other activities, site requirements, cost factors, you name it, to then be able to better define what we think are the near-term and long-term opportunities. Are these opportunities that are focused downtown in Holyoke in the district, or are these regional opportunities? And are we talking, you know, one big business or more of a small business entrepreneurial strategy? So that's at least an early framework for how we do that assessment. In support of that is the ecosystem development, and I'm just listing a number of areas that we're going to look at in more detail, so that when we're thinking about economic growth, what needs to be strengthened, connections between workforce, job training, community colleges is I know, going to be one that we explore. Business incubators and entrepreneurial support. You probably heard that most job growth in the U.S. is based on small business growth. I think it's incumbent upon us to look for those types of opportunities as part of this work. Access to financing, infrastructure, marketing, a whole range of things will go into that task.